Okay, this is our update on the broader markets. It is June 1st, about 11 p.m. So markets are closed. Futures are open. We'll look at that really quickly at some point. But we'll start here with IWM. It's the strongest of the three indices. And when I say three indices, I'm just talking about S&P, NASDAQ, and small caps. I don't watch the Dow as much. I mean, every now and then when there's big divergence, I might take a futures trade, but it's a 30 stock index. I don't pay too much attention to it. But IWM it's really important. Now, I said this in my previous video. You can always check the description. I have a link in there. But IWM did not make a new low, right? SPY, QQQ, they did. So below this swing low here, SPY and QQQ rolled over and made new lows. IWM has not. That is really important. IWM has made its high on day 12, which was yesterday, so Tuesday to be exact. And this is just a general theme for the indices. We did break below yesterday's low today. So just taking a step back. So today's candle, Wednesday, it's Wednesday night. The candle before yesterday's candle, Tuesday, was an inside candle, right? So actually, wait, did we make a new high? 187.68. Oh, actually, we did. We made a slight new high, right? So it was not an inside candle. It was actually, yeah, just a slight new high. So we almost went bearish outside, and then we didn't. So that's important, right? We made a slight new high on this day above this high. And so once we started to come back down and fail, we expected to make a low below this low. Notice that did not happen. It didn't happen yesterday, at least. But what happened today? We completed the picture, right? That's important to think about. If I switch this to a 2-day chart, you'll see, actually, right, because it's combining the two previous days. But the point is, if I combine these two candles into one day, you'll notice into like one time period, they did break that low, right? And so this, you can almost think of this candle as a continuation of this move. But look at this huge upper or lower wick. That means there was a big rally. And if we just zoom in really quickly, like to hourly, you can see that's your rally right there. That's what's causing your lower wick. So if you had to pick something to be bullish about, IWM would definitely be it. And if you look at the weekly chart, so IWM, so last weekly cycle ended on week 31, and this week is week 13, I believe. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Week 14, actually. So there's a question as to whether or not, well, it would be strange if we had this as an ICL because it's so early, right, on week 12, or excuse me, week 11, right? And so you would expect that we're going to come back and make a lower low and then kind of fill this gap here. So get down to the 165.71 area. But you really never know. What sticks out to me here is this downward sloping 10-week moving average. I mean, this is an incredibly bullish candle. And again, you'll see it's a very similar picture on the other indices. But this is what looks like the beginning of a rollover. Although, again, IWM is the strongest of the indices. So if you had to pick something to be bullish about, that would be the one. And if we look at the monthly chart, I mentioned this in my uranium video, and this is just a general trend. Most things made a major cycle low March 2020, right? When I say a major cycle low, I mean a long-term cycle. Think of like anything from like an 18-month cycle to a 3-year cycle, right? That was a major cycle low for most things. And so for IWM, we have our high on month 20 from that low, right? So if you counted these candles, it would be 20 candles. That was November. It's actually the same top that the NASDAQ has. And the S&P has a top a little bit later because it topped out in January. All that to say, if we're thinking about a 36-month cycle, now just to be like super clear, right? If we were to have a 36-month cycle, that would take us to March 2023, right? And if this hypothesis is true, that week 20 was actually the high for this 36-month cycle, this 3-year cycle, that's obviously pretty bearish, right? I mean, it's not that bearish because that still means it's right translated, right? Even if we descended down, even if we got to week 36 or so to month 36, that would still mean we had a 20-month rally on the to the upside, followed by a 16-month decline. And it won't happen in a straight line. You'll have retracements like this one, for instance. But this is really important to watch that weekly cycle and this yearly cycle, this 3-year cycle, let's call it. I'll switch over to QQQ now. So this one, right, this is the hourly chart. I'll move back to the daily. So again, as I was mentioning, this made a new low below this daily cycle low. And so this QQQ actually made a new high today on Wednesday, day 13 of the weekly cycle. So important to note, and this is the same thing for IWM, there was a point where the high was day 3 right here, and that is no longer the case, right? Because we've made a new high. The other thing that I would note that's important to just be aware of is look where we rebounded today, right? Like right here, right? And so that is right around the open of this daily candle that was our top on day 3, right? Like levels aren't never going to be exact. They're going to be zones. But it's interesting to me that we were able to find a bounce in that general vicinity, right? You could even expect we come down to like here, there's a little gap here actually that may get filled, right? The point is these other big down, look at the difference here. We had these 3 days up and then we have this massive rejection. This is pretty bearish follow through. This is more consolidation than it is bearish to some degree. Again, because of this lower wick, if we kept melting through supports, that would be a different character change. So all that to say, this isn't giving you that clear sort of sell signal that I was expecting. Yet at the same time, I would not be putting new money to work here. So this is your weekly chart. This is week 11. This is setting up to start rolling over, right? We made a new high on this week, didn't we? Because we made a new high today. That's what's causing your new high on the weekly. This is setting you up. Imagine, and this is how you kind of anticipate how things are going to play out. Imagine we continue to get more downside this week, or even don't get downside, and we just kind of consolidate. We stay in this area, right? This sets us up for a weekly swing low next week. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I meant a weekly swing high. So bearish, not bullish. A weekly swing low would be bullish. So a move below the low of this week, call it, 303.73 is your weekly swing high next week, right? And that would continue this downturn, this downtrend, right? You'd expect something like, so this is our lower high basically, right? We came from here, made a lower high here, so you expect we come down here maybe come up here, something like that. Again, these declines don't happen in a straight line, right? Because, there's not an infinite amount of capital. There's not an infinite amount of to be sold. And so you're going to get bounces, but you want to be observant of that general trend. And if I look at the monthly chart, similar to IWM, again, topped out on month 20. It's currently month 26, I think. Is it? Actually, month 27. So again, we could be in for another 9 months of decline into a 36-month low, a 3-year cycle low. Again, this is a scenario, not a prediction. It's something to be aware of, because as things start to play out, then you're like, oh, well, it does look like this is going to be our major top. And that's important when you make decisions about, long allocations of capital. Like, is now the best time to start dollar cost averaging? Maybe not, right? Maybe I wait for that low, for instance. And S&P, similar to the NASDAQ, difference here is we did not make a new high today. We made a high yesterday at 4168.34. And today we came to 4166. So, quite a couple bucks off. So we have our high on month 12, but similar to IWM, right? Or excuse me, QQQ and IWM. This move higher, like this lower wick, really raises the prospects that we may have found some short-term support area and we're now consolidating. Because notice this, like if like think about, because you really, candles are just ranges, right? That's the range for this candle, where like we, the last big green candle. Notice we got right below it and then reversed back up. Again, that's a false breakdown on a lower time frame, for instance. Really, technically, yeah, I mean, it depends on how you're thinking about it. It's definitely a false breakdown on some like hourly or maybe 8-hour chart. But this to me suggests that there's still more rally to come, even if we are going to eventually make another leg lower. Weekly chart, we're on week 14. Again, so you could see a world where we even get a bit more upside. We get above the 10-week moving average, and then we start to roll over again. And the same thing, so in this case for S&P, for the monthly, we topped out on month 22, which was January. And so this is this is also month 27, just like IWM and QQQ. So that's the general story. Very clear levels to watch. It's a little frustrating that, this is just frustrating because it's not doing much, right? It's not going higher, but it's not really going lower in a satisfying way. And so it's just patience here.